Think Realty Nation, it's your host, Abhi Golhar. Welcome to the Think Realty podcast. Excited to be here with you today, and we're talking about something that all real estate investors need to know, which is rentals. Like, if you're not building a real estate rental portfolio, what are you doing with your life? Like, that's really ultimately the question that I have for you real estate geniuses that are only flipping and not buying rentals. You and me gotta talk. Anyway, my guest today is Matt Bowles, who has a very interesting model that he's used to help other investors around the country buy properties and be smart about it. You can't be dumb when you're buying this like cash flowing rentals. You got to be smart and picking the right properties, picking the right areas, having the right resources available to you. This is all that matters. So there are two things that we're going to talk about. One, cash flow investment property, and two, we're going to talk about outdoor living and the summer's big value add in real estate, which is kind of interesting considering a COVID environment. You know, I think hang out in your backyard, make a little smoothie and stay healthy. So we'll talk about those trends after my interview with Matt. Think Realty Nation, this next segment is brought to you by Clint Coons of Anderson Business Advisors, nationally recognized for providing bulletproof asset protection, tax, and business strategy advice to real estate investors. Get bulletprooftoday.com and receive Clint's book, Asset Protection for Real Estate Investors, for free while supplies last. Matt, welcome to the show, man.
Awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
You got it. So give us a little background. Who are you? What do you do? And tell me about the Maverick Investment Group.
Yeah, sure. So Maverick Investor Group has been operating since 2007. And the way that it actually started is that I was working at a regular office job, and I just started deciding that I should start buying rental properties and building wealth through real estate. And so I started buying these cash flowing rental properties, and then I started buying them in out-of-state real estate markets. And then my friends came and started asking me, said, how are you buying those rental properties? So I'll show you what I'm doing. You can buy the same ones that I'm buying, the same areas if you want. And I started helping them buy rental properties. And I was just doing this because they were my friends helping them out. And then eventually in 2007, I unexpectedly got fired from my office job. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go a different route. And I'm going to build a business and go the entrepreneurial route. And I'm going to actually turn this, what I'm already doing, which is helping my friends buy rental properties, I'm just going to turn that into a business. And so we started a real estate brokerage in 2007 called Maverick Investor Group. And ever since then, we have been helping people buy rental properties in the most investor advantaged U.S. real estate markets, regardless of where they live. And so that was the model. It was that we wanted to allow people to live wherever you need to live or wherever you want to live, but don't let that restrict you from buying real estate in the most advantageous real estate markets. In the same way that when you buy stock, you don't care if the corporate headquarters are located in your hometown. We wanted you to have the same opportunity when you're buying real estate. And so we set up this real estate brokerage that helps you to buy turnkey performing rental properties in out-of-state real estate markets. And the most advantageous markets change over time. So we've been doing this now since 2007. So we have worked in a lot of different real estate markets, and the best real estate markets to buy in back in 2010 are not necessarily the best ones to buy in today. So we have helped our clients build and diversify their portfolios over the years.
So when it comes to single family rentals, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of due diligence that goes into finding the right area, and then the math behind the property, and then the management of the property, and then all the tenants and all this stuff. How do you know which markets to go into? Like, what are some of the things that you started the Maverick Investor Group in 2007, which is a very interesting time to start an investor group, and you've seen this, right? Like, you saw that. And how do you pick markets right now? Is it just spin the globe, spin the globe, spin the globe, and yeah, that's it. That's, oh crap. That's Birmingham, Alabama. Like, how do you know? I mean, that's a very Maverick way of doing it, by the way. I'm totally kidding. But where do you do your research? How do you do it? And if I'm a flipper, like, how do I get comfortable buying in, say, Cleveland or Columbus, Ohio, when I might live in California? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's two pieces to this. One is market selection. So to your point, right after the massive real estate crash of '08 and going in, when the real estate was at the bottom, it was a very advantageous time to buy in markets like Phoenix, Arizona. We had a lot of our clients, we helped them buy in Phoenix back in 2010, and they did fantastic. Their home skyrocketed in value. They locked in a good cash flow margin when they bought, and they're doing fantastic today. However, today, it is no longer advantageous to continue buying in Phoenix, Arizona, because what's happened is the prices have gone sky high, but the rents have not increased proportionally. So what you've had is a process of yield compression. The cap rates got squeezed, the cash flow margins got squeezed. So our clients that bought a decade ago are crushing it. They did great because they're still getting the cash flow that they locked in, but they just significantly increase their equity. It doesn't make sense to continue buying there today. So what we do is we help people buy in markets that are investor advantaged in the year that they're buying. So we're talking about markets, first of all, where you have an advantageous price to rent ratio. Then beyond that, you want to look at the expenses. How do the property taxes and other expenses figure it in? So you're getting advantageous capitalization rates when you're buying this real estate. And then you also want to overlay that with positive economic indicators. So, lower than average unemployment, job growth, population moving in, lower than average cost of living. And right now, in the COVID-19 era, we're now looking at what are the new COVID-19 era trends. And we're seeing, for example, a lot of people wanting to move out of crowded apartment buildings and shared communal living spaces and move into single family detached rental properties, right? So we are helping our clients always stay ahead of the curve and buy in the path of the current demand trends so they can be on the supply side of the high demand trends.
That makes a lot of sense. And I can totally see that now, right? If you're living in an apartment complex, you're like, whoa, 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 that's way too congested and saturated for comfort. I need my own space and I need a big yard and I'm going to fence it and just stay away from me, right? Like it reminds me of, was a Family Guy's Peoria. You remember that? Like he had his own country. And so he's like, no, just stay away. This is mine. Don't go anywhere. You're not allowed in. We're not allowed out. That's just it. So what markets are you looking at now that are striking your radar as, holy cow, this actually makes sense and we should be buying for the long term here?
Yeah, so a lot of them right now are in the Midwest. So we've worked in different markets, as I mentioned. We were in Phoenix, back in 2010. We did a lot of stuff in Atlanta, 2012, 2013. We were in Texas for quite a while, Houston and Dallas. But a lot of those markets have gone up so much in value that you're not getting those advantageous cash flow margins. So right now, in the year 2020, we are looking more at Midwestern markets. So Indianapolis, Kansas City, Cleveland, Ohio, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, those types of areas. And to answer your other question that you asked in terms of helping the out-of-state investors do it, when people are used to local investing or being in their hometown, how do they buy out of state? So I wanted to sort of answer that one as well. I mean, the first major advantage with the turnkey model is risk mitigation. Okay. So in the turnkey model, when you're buying a performing rental property, whether you're buying it in your hometown or out of state, the upfront risk of buying distressed, renovating, did the construction crews go over their estimated cost? Did they take longer than expected? Did you have increased holding costs? Was there a longer initial vacancy rate? When you were trying to lease it out to the tenant, did it rent for as much as you thought it was going to rent for? These are all upfront risks that anybody that's trying to do it themselves faces. With the turnkey model, you leapfrog over the top of all of that. Somebody else has already bought it distressed. They've already renovated it. They've already absorbed the holding costs. They've already leased it out to a qualified tenant. So when you buy a property through Maverick Investor Group, you are jumping over that and you are just conducting your due diligence. So you are sending in your home inspector. Was it renovated properly? You're sending in your appraiser. Is it worth what I'm paying for it? You are verifying the tenant qualifications and the lease and that they are paying the market rent, okay? And then once you verify all of that, then you close on the property and you cash flow from day one, but you have professional property management in place, collecting the rent, handling the maintenance, all that, so that you can own property in the best market and get all the benefits of owning the deeded hard asset of the real estate, but you don't have to be the landlord or the rehab.
That's pretty phenomenal. And I mean, when we take a look at just leveraging your time, that really, I mean, it just makes sense, right? And I work with turnkey companies a lot, and it helps me to really leverage the time. So that leads me kind of to my next question. Maybe you have one more question after this for you, Matt. There are a lot of turnkey companies in the space. How is Maverick different?
Yeah, so we thought about this a lot when we started off in the business model. And, some people are turnkey providers, and what they do is they, stake themselves down in one particular market and they build an operation. So they are buying distressed properties and renovating them and leasing them out and managing them. And they're really, centered in that one market. They're fixed there, right? They have a fixed infrastructure in that market. And the challenge with that is when those markets change, they are still there. And this is the same problem that traditional real estate agents have, right? If you're a real estate agent, you're in one city, in one market. And so what you have to do is try to convince people. You start with the product, and then you try to convince people that it's always the best time to buy your product in your market. Even when those market cycles change, even when things happen that make it less advantageous, you have to retrofit your marketing materials to tell people that your product is the best one because it's all you have to sell. What we wanted to do from the very beginning is build a company where we didn't have to do that, where we could actually put the real estate investor first and understand what their goals are, understand what their needs are, and then be able to work in multiple markets and be able to change those markets over time. So we're always helping people buy in the most investor advantaged markets, and we have the capacity to help them to diversify their portfolio and to buy and build their portfolio in multiple markets over time.
That's pretty special. And when you take a look at like working with investors, last question for you. When you start looking at working with investors, what is the number one question they have for you about Turnkey? That is like their number one worry or their number one challenge. Is it control? Is it price? Is it location? Is it all of the above? Is it something else? What's that number one worry or concern? And what is your solution to that worry or concern?
Yeah, honestly, I think that it is, how do I conduct due diligence out of state? Because if I can't see and touch and walk through this property, how does that work? And so what we actually do is we support our clients every step of the way. They're doing their due diligence independently. We never say trust Maverick or trust the seller or this or that. What we do instead is empower and educate our clients how to do their due diligence on every aspect of this deal. And we walk them through that. And we hold their hand all the way along the way. So you're going to do the same due diligence on a property that's out of state as you would a property in your own neighborhood. Okay. And unless you're a professional home inspector, your ability to walk through that property and touch it in person is really not going to have that much of an impact, because you're going to still have a professional home inspector come in and say, give me the real deal, inspect every minutia.
Right.
And give me the real deal. You're going to do the same thing out of state. You're going to have a professional home inspector in that house. They're hired by you. They report to you, not the seller, not Maverick, to you, right? You're going to do the same thing with your appraiser, right? If you're getting financing on a property, your lender is going to require an appraiser because they're not going to lend on a property that doesn't appraise for what you're paying for, right? Then you're going to do, we're going to show you how to pull a report that shows you what the market rent is. You're going to evaluate the lease and the tenant qualifications and interview the property manager and go through there. So you're going to do the exact same due diligence, and you can do it on an out-of-state property that you would do on an in-state property. The advantage here is that you don't have to spend your time being either the rehabber and overseeing any construction or being the landlord and dealing with tenants and taking those calls. And so our clients are, those busy people that really, really value their time, and they're not trying to create a job for themselves flipping properties full time.
Yeah.
They want to do whatever they already do with their time. They just know that real estate is such an advantageous asset class because of the tax benefits, because of the cash flow, because of the appreciation potential. You've even got a built-in hedge against inflation, and they know that. And particularly in this time period where we're printing all of this extra money, they want to be hedged against inflation. They want all the benefits that come with owning the deeded hard asset of a performing rental property. They just don't want to spend their time on it. And so we offer them the opportunity to buy it turnkey, conduct all their due diligence, and then have someone else manage it professionally for them. But they get all the benefits.
Awesome. So if I want to learn more, what's the website? How do I get in touch? How do I engage?
Definitely. You can go to maverickinvestorgroup.com/think realty. We created a special link for all the Think Realty folks.
Awesome.
You can get a free report there on how to avoid the 7 biggest mistakes real estate investors are making in today's market. Grab that. You'll also get information about how you can schedule a free phone consultation with us. We would love to get to know you personally, understand your goals, understand your buying criteria, your questions and concerns, and get everything answered for you and just see if it's a good fit to work together. And if so, we'd be happy to support you in building your rental property portfolio.
Awesome. Matt, thanks a bunch, man. I appreciate the insights. This has been tremendously helpful. And I really do hope that the viewers and listeners, they really take home this message that you can build wealth. It is possible. And if you live in these really expensive cities or states, then it's okay to invest out of your own state because you still have that control and you have people reporting to you and nobody else. So, Matt, thanks again. I appreciate the time. Check out Maverick Investor Group, mavericinvestorgroup.com for more info. Thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
You got it. This podcast is brought to you by Real Property Management, which is the largest residential property management franchise in North America, managing tens of thousands of properties for individuals, investors, and institutions throughout the country. Learn more at realpropertymgt.com or call 888-806-7088. We're talking about outdoor living spaces, and a recent article on thinkrealty.com talked a little bit about the summer's big value add. And I think this is kind of interesting. This is written by Tom Olson, a good friend of the Think Realty family. And he says, quote, the survey, which is the American Institute of Architects' second quarter of 2019 Home Design Trend Survey. Whew, that's a mouthful. This survey indicated that last year, buyers were placing a premium on low-maintenance decks made of composite decking material to eliminate the need for staining, which is huge for rentals, by the way. Yards with multiple areas for different uses. So what you want to do here is think of like a fire pit plus patio plus green space plus play yard, right? Like all of these things into one. And properties that offered what's known as a blurred transition between indoors and outdoors. And I think that's a really unique kind of component to a home. And for me, as somebody that's looking at this, I'm like, whoa, wait, this makes sense. Quite frankly, it totally makes sense. Because now the home is completely versatile for a homeowner or a renter, and you get the best ratings ever. And that's what you want as either a flipper, new construction builder, or a landlord, right? You want to make everybody happy. So make everybody happy. Give them something like this. I think this is great. So if you want to read more of the article, check it out on thinkrealty.com. The title of the article is called Outdoor Living, Summer's Big Value Add in Real Estate, and definitely check it out. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to, of course, reach out to Tom Olson. You can also give me a buzz. Maybe not a buzz, but find me online at Avi Golhar on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm always around. You can also find me on thinkrealty.com. This podcast is sponsored by Clint Coons of Anderson Business Advisors, nationally recognized for providing bulletproof asset protection, tax, and business strategy advice to real estate investors around the country. Go to www.getbulletprooftoday.com and receive Clint's book, Asset Protection for Real Estate Investors, for free while supplies last. That's a wrap for today's podcast. Again, got any questions? You know how to get in touch. And until next time, Think Realty Nation, happy investing.